Hello, hello. साउंड चेक करो। मैं दे रहा हूँ, हेलो हेलो कर रहा हूँ। हाँ, हेलो, 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 हेलो। A very good afternoon to everyone. My name is Dr. Mohammad Shalam. I am Assistant Professor in the Department of Agronomy. Welcome to this lecture, The Growing Crisis, Climate Change, Crop and Future of Agriculture as Food. Climate change is no longer a distant environmental concern, it is a present day reality affecting the ecosystem, economics, and particularly agriculture. Agriculture depends Agriculture depends heavily on climate conditions such as temperature, rainfall, solar radiation, and therefore even a small changes in climate can significantly influence crop productivity and food security. As a former US President Barack Obama says, we are the first generation to feel the impact of climate change and the last generation that can do something about it. The statement highlights the urgency of addressing climate change through sustainable and innovative agriculture practices. In this lecture, we will explore the causes of climate change, its global impact, and particularly how it's affect agriculture and food system. We will also discuss about the solutions and strategies to build climate resilient agriculture. First, we will know what is climate change. Let us first understand what is climate change. Climate change refers to the long-term alteration in the Earth atmosphere, weather pattern and atmospheric condition driven mostly by human activities such as fossil fuel combustion, deforestation and industrial operation. These activities emits carbon dioxide and methane which trap the heat in the atmosphere and contribute to the global warming. These activities like deforestation and industrial operation emits carbon monoxide or CH4 or CO2, which trap the atmospheric rays or rays which are coming from the sun, and that will called a phenomena called a greenhouse gas, and they disrupt the ozone layer. The next slide shows the what are the causes of climate change. The major causes of climate change are primarily anthropogenic, means it will caused by human. The burning of fossil fuels such as coal, oil, natural gas emits significant amount of CO2 which traps the heat and contribute to global warming. Deforestation also contribute to the climate change by decreasing the amount of tree that absorbs CO2 from the atmosphere. Additional agricultural activity contributes through methane emission via livestock, nitrous oxide emission via fertilizer, and land use changes. Together, these activities increase greenhouse concentration and accelerate climate change. Next slide shows the what are the major causes of climate change. Here I describe the further major causes of climate change. That is, first will be oil drilling, extraction and burning of fossil fuels are the major causes of climate change. The burning of fossil fuel, the emission of carbon monoxide, the extraction of oil from the soil, from the land, and from the sea causes a significant impact on the climate change. Then next will be overfishing, depleting the marine life and ecosystem around the world. Species going extinct in the last some decades. In the 100 year, many of the species which are living in the seas are going extinct. The next is a power plant, like burning of coal and other fossil fuels for electricity are also the major cause of climate change. Next is industrialization, that is mass production and heavy machinery. We can say after the industrial revolution in 1800 AD, The first changes has have been seen in the climate change after the industrialization. The next will be the waste management. Landfill release gas, methane gas, and pollution. The burning in landfills will sometimes kill so many people in the around the world. We have seen some cases about the medical waste burning in the landfill, which kills about 30 to 40 people in the Karnataka, I think. And next is farming. Agriculture is the second to produce the highest amount of methane in the world. After the industrialization, livestock emission and use of fertilizer also pollute the groundwater supply or the freshwater supply around the world. Next is deforestation, clearing forest and agriculture and development. Deforestation, although we see a steep rise in forest area, increase in forest area in India, but with continuous cutting of trees, it also says that the trees which are consume carbon dioxide are reduced. That's why the climate change is happening, and we can see very many chemicals shipped due to this deforestation and for the clearing of the land for the agriculture purpose. The next will be consumerism. High demand of goods and excessive waste mean people nowadays demand different things. They want almond milk, they want avocado from the around the world, and that will pressure the farmer to produce more and more, and that will also harming the climate. The next is oil and gas transportation and industry using fossil fuels also contribute to the climate change. The oil which has been extracted from the sea eroded and causes the many heavy impact on the soil on the sea ecosystem. And the last will be a transports and vehicle. The emission from the cars, trucks, and ships and planes also and contribute the climate change. The consumption of carbon monoxide from the two wheelers or four wheelers contribute around 70 to 78% of major CO carbon monoxide conversion into the air. Next slide shows the evidence of climate change. Scientific evidence clearly shows that the climate change is occurring. One of the most significant indicator is the rise in global temperature over the past centuries. Recent decades have been recorded the warmest in the modern history. With the scientific reporting, we can also see the ice caps and glacier in the Arctic and Antarctica are melting at an alarming rate, raising the sea levels and posing a threat to the coastal towns. We also know that majority of the glaciers have been declining in the current scenario. The sea level is also rising, and that will also increasing the impact on the climate change. Next, the effect on the environment. Climate change has far-reaching environmental impact, particularly for the ecosystem and biodiversity, raising global temperature, causing glacier and polar ice caps to melt, raising sea levels and endangering coastal community and Indonesians. The major effect on environment will be the rising temperature, melting of ice caps, extreme weather, disruption to ecosystem. We also know that melting of ice cap has been seen like in Mount Fuji in Japan. There is no ice in this year. Venezuela have lost all of its glacier, which is also contributing to the carbon or methane emissions to the system. And due to the higher concentration in the ocean, they are disturbing the local ecosystem of the ocean. Extreme weather events such as hurricane, droughts, and wildfire have also increased in frequency, severity, and causing damage to the forest, farmland, and wildfire habitats. We also know that there are many wildlife habitats have been lost in the current wildfire, like in Uttarakhand fire in 2016 or the recent Congo basin fire in 2024. Floods have been seen also seen in this scenario, like a cloud burst in Himachal Pradesh and in Uttarakhand in 2013 in Kedarnath, or the continuous flood in Bihar and West Bengal, and the cyclone like cyclone Remal has been seen in the year 2025, and cyclone Asan is also seen in Gujarat in 2025 that claim around 2500 deaths. Next slide shows the change in the high range of high temperature recorded between the 1958 to 2022. This data shows the 65 year of generation, 65 year of gap. This figure illustrates the change in the range of high temperature recorded between 1958 to 2022. We can clearly observe that the frequency and intensity of heat waves have been increased significantly over the time. The area which has been shown in the red zone have been highly impacted by the heat wave, the continuously heat wave, and the area which are shown in the blue zone are the least impacted area which are impacted by the heat waves. Particularly in the last decade, extreme heat events have been become more frequently. Regions such as Southwest Europe has also experienced severe heat waves, result in tens of thousands of deaths. The most intense and consistent single, however, the Northwest Europe, where sequence of heat waves contribute to around 60,000 to 47,000 in 2023. The next slide shows the climate change on the environment. In this scenario, I have put all the global warming impact on the currently happening in the zone in the era. Like Canada receives 16% more precipitation in the past 6 decades. Average annual air temperature has been warmed by 1.5 degrees Celsius in the past 6 decades. It is also reported by Times of India that when the Earth will increase its temperature by 1.5 degrees Celsius, it will harm the crop production and it will harm the livestock production also. The Arctic is also warming twice as fast as south. Warmer temperature increase evaporation or evapotranspiration, leading to bigger or more dangerous storm. 2001 to 2020 to 2010 recorded as the warmest decade on record. Temperature over land is warming faster over the ocean. Permafrosting. What is permafrosting? It is the decreasing of ice in the zone. Permafrost temperature across the country has also increases. Permafrost release methane gas. The fossils, the plants, the trees that has been trapped into the ice in the million years have been now overcoming due to the permafrosting and releasing the carbon dioxide and methane emissions, which ultimately contributing to the climate change. Melting of glacier is also contributing to the rise of sea levels. River flow have decreased over the past few decades in southern Canada, was increased in northern Canada. Each decade, sea ice is shrinking and more the glacier are now deforming, now melting, so the sea ice is also shrinking. Stratification is the formation of different layers of different layer of water into the soil. Stratification means a different layers of salt concentration or the alkaline or saline water have been formed. In the global warming stopped this layer from mixing properly, increasing the exchange of nutrient and increase the heat and carbon dioxide into the oceans. Ocean acidification also contributing to the climate due to the climate change. Too much CO2 is absorbed into the water, making it difficult for some species to build shells and skeletons like the clams or seashells or the coral reefs of the Great Barrier Reef also decline due to the ocean acidification and high rise in the temperature of the sea. Next slide shows the effect on human life. Climate change affects human society in multiple ways. Rising temperature increases the risk of heat-related illness and contributes to the spread of diseases such as malaria and dengue fever. Or the polluted water also contributed to other diseases like typhoid or jaundice. Extreme weather events such as hurricane, floods, drought, or these are destroying homes, damage infrastructure, displace population, and interrupt food and water supply, causing hunger and economical stability. Agriculture is also severely impacted by the climate change. It is because it is directly dependent upon the climate for its production. For millions of people, especially in developing countries, climate change threatens livelihood and economical stability. This map shows the increase in number of natural disasters since the 1960 to the current scenario. In the following graph, you can see in 1960 the very least amount of hazard or the climatical hazard have been happening. Only a small amount of flood or storm has been there. But if you see the map from 2002 2024, we can see the extreme flooding in the area in the world. The extreme drought, extreme storm, and wildfire have also been observed in the last 20 or 20 years of the decades in the world. This graph shows the increasing number of natural disasters in 1960 to 2024. Next slide shows the impact on climate change on crop productivity. Agriculture is one of the most climate sensitive sectors. The major impact which the climate can do is the increase the incidence of more pests and diseases, like the incidence of more pests, the armyworm, the other things. It will decreases the it will decreases the yield. It will increase the wildfire. It will increase the heat stress in the cattle farming or cattle rearing, which ultimately decrease the milk and meat production. It increased the soil salinity by high amount of drought or soil accumulation in the soil. It also increased the heat stress in the plant. It also causes more flooding due to high temperature. Rising temperature reduces crop yield due to heat stress during flowering and grain filling stage. Increased evapotranspiration leads to higher crop demand. Evapotranspiration means the losses of water via crop and via soil, which ultimately required soil for more moisture to help the crop for its growth. Erratic rainfall causes drought and floods affecting crop establishment, higher dry spell causing the drought, intensive rainfall causing the flooding. Next is increasing atmospheric carbon dioxide may improve photosynthesis in some crop, but benefit by limited by water and nutrient stress. CO2 increase the amount of CO2 will help in photosynthesis in crops like can crops or the C4 crops which have a water leaves, but in C3 वगैरह crops may it will not help via that. Next is major crops such as wheat, rice, maize, which are cornerstones of the Indian farming. These are highly sensitive to the temperature changes. It was reported by some research by Yale Research and by Times of India also that even 1 to 2 degrees Celsius increase in temperature can significantly reduce yield in major cereal crops. Next we will talk about the global effort to combat the climate change. Addressing climate change requires global cooperation between the countries across the countries. Countries across the world are implementing strategies to reduce greenhouse emission and promote sustainable development, like China, like America. India is also doing some work to prevent the gas emission to combat the climate change. Some key actions included expansion of renewable energy sources such as solar and wind energy. Next will be the protection of the forest and biodiversity. Next will be the promotion of sustainable agriculture production, in which we use the current resources to feed our population, but in such a manner that it will also feed our future generation. International agreements and conferences are also play a critical role in coordinating global climate action. Next slide shows the what are the key measures to combat the climate change. I have further described this, like sustainable agriculture practices, and what is in there in sustainable agriculture practices like climate smart agriculture, conservation farming and agroforestry, sustainable soil and nutrient management. Sustainable soil and like integrated nutrient management and integrated weed management will also help to reduce the effect of climate change in the atmosphere. Innovative farming techniques like aquaponic and hydroponic and integrated fish and poultry farming or integrated poultry and duck farming has also been helpful to combat the climate change. Control environment agriculture to reduce water and land use are also beneficial, like in polyhouse or greenhouse, where we can control the temperature, the humidity, the water use, and the fertilizer use, and also can achieve the higher yield. Next, advanced agriculture technology like precision agriculture using of IoT sensors and drones, using of GPS and GIS and remote sensing for climate monitoring, for AI-based decision support system for farm management, for crop production, and for insect and pest management. And you can also use for irrigation purpose also. And next will be the renewable energy integration. Renewable energy integration, like we use the solar power irrigation system that has it given by power via solar power, for solar energy and wind and bioenergy in agriculture operation. Biogas production will also help to reduce the methane emission in the atmosphere. Energy efficient greenhouse production system will also help to reduce the climate change effect. The key message here is combating climate change requires integrating sustainable farming, innovative technologies, and renewable energy system to build a resilient and climate smart agriculture system. This map shows the countries which are more susceptible to the effect of climate change on their ability to repay souvenir debt. It is prepared by Moody's. They have an economical background. In this map shows the area which are covered with the dark red color shows they are most susceptible to the climate change and their agriculture are more susceptible to the climate change, and how much they are susceptible that if we increase 1 or 2 degrees Celsius more, the productivity of their major cereals crop will decline by far or by fall by far, and it will ultimately impact the GDP of the agriculture, which contributed to the state or national GDP, and they won't be able to prepay their souvenir debt which they take from the trade or from other countries. The other countries like Africa, Sudan, and Colombia and Egypt are also severely impacted by the climate change. The upper Russia and Alaska and China are least susceptible countries which are affected by climate change to the ability to repay their souvenir debt. Next, the current state of global food security. The current state of global food security has already been rising due to large part to climate phenomena. The acute food insecurity has risen sharply from 135 million in 2029 to 345 million people in 82 countries by mid 2022. Global warming is influencing weather pattern, causing heat, heavy rainfall, and drought. Another global problem are faced by the global farmers is high or rapid increase in population growth. Having in mind that global food demand will reach a number of 9.6 billion in 2020 in 2050, the goal is to produce more production on the same piece of land by following the sustainable farm management. The following world map shows the impact of climate change on agriculture yield. As you can see, the red area, dark red areas are showing the most negative effect of climate change up to the minus 25% on their agriculture yield, and this map has been predictable a map from between 2020 to 2003 to 2080. Okay, or the orange area shows the reduction up to minus 15%. The area which are covered by dark green color shows the low impact of climate change on them or their agriculture yields and have an increment of 25%. Now how will they getting increase in the or other upper hand, and via India is suffering from the climate change. See, carbon emission can also help the agriculture by enhancing their photosynthesis in many important crops such as wheat, rice, and soya beans. And these countries are generally wheat, rice, and soya bean country. They are highly supply of these crop by these countries. Next, this map shows where more than 30% of present population in 2024 is exposed to moderate or severe food insecurities. As we know that majority of the world, like in Africa, in Bangladesh, or in Bhutan or Nepal, and in Iraq and Afghanistan and Pakistan, these are the countries which are facing from the major or severe food insecurity. They are not able to put the food in their plate or in their market, and there is undernourishment there. There is hunger there. And while this indicator is purely related to the present day vulnerability factor, it is important to note that food production is closely influenced by climate hazard such as drought, heat stress, flooding, and fire. Now, the next slide shows the global impact of climate change projection. This map shows the where multiple severe impact may occur at a similar time at 4 degrees Celsius of global warming, our pre-industrial era. This map shows the pre-industrial era or after the industrial revolution, how much the climate change impact on this, and where are these countries which have the extreme event or extreme climatic event occurs on them, like in northern parts of India, in South Africa, in America, in Iraq, in Afghanistan. You can see these are the parts which have severely impacted by extreme weather index of extreme weather climates, like extreme heat stress risks, river flooding, drought, wildfire risk, overlaid with an indicator of present day food in the insecurities. Next slide shows the climate risk index 2026. This slide shows the how much climate is affecting the food security of these several countries. Like the most affected countries affected by the extreme weather in 2024, as you can see in the diagram, it is the Afghanistan. The next will be the Zimbabwe, and last will be the Chad. But the most affected by the extreme weather from 1995 to 2024 will be the Puerto Rico, Myanmar, Haiti, Pakistan, and the last will be India. As you can see, uh, the climate risk index indicated the extreme weather that brings large humans and economic loss, hitting low-income global South countries hardest. From 1995 to 2024, more than 8,32,000 lives were lost, and directly economical loss of nearly 4.5 trillion US dollar have been recorded, and was driven by more than 9,700 extreme weather events. The frequency and intensity of climate related disaster continue to rise, and these figures underscore the urgent need of climate actions. And what are the solutions which can be taken to mitigate these impacts is also given by the climate risk index. And these are the resilient crop diversification, healthy soil, and climate action plans. Next slide shows the current state of Indian food security. India is the 13th most vulnerable country to climate change. Since 60% of the Indian agriculture is dependent on the rainfall, so it is under rainfed, and it contains about 33% of the world poorest population in the world. With among them, the climate change will have significant impact on their food and nutrition security. Increasing heat waves, erratic rainfall, drought, and floods are already affecting crop productions. Major crops such as wheat, rice, maize, which are the cornerstones of Indian food system, are especially vulnerable. As the research suggests, the temperature increase of 2.5 to 4.9 degrees Celsius could reduce the wheat yield by 41 to 52% and rice yield by 32 to 40%. Additionally, the Himalayan region is warming faster than the global region, which may further affects water resource and agriculture productivity. We also net there is less snowfall have been seen in this year. There is no snowfall in Himalayan regions, which ultimately reduce the total amount of water the river hold. The map is also shown the climate change impact in India, and it was prepared by INCCA, Indian National Climate Change Assessment Report, and it shows that there is a scene of average temperature rise of 2 degrees Celsius is predicted. 1 to 4 degrees Celsius are extreme ranges. Annual precipitations, lower frequency of rainy days, and increase intensity. The high intensity rainfall are of no use to the agriculture and groundwater recharge point of view. So we need a mild intensity rainfall for our further productions. Cyclone distribution, as I already told, like cyclone Meena and cyclone Asana has already struck the India twice in year 2025, one via West Bengal and one via Gujarat. And the sea level is also rising around the India 1.3 per year on an average, and freshwater supply have been seen degradation in the freshwater supply, high variability in water yields, 10 to 30% risk of flood increase, and rainfall and drought is also increased. Next map shows the next map was prepared by climate change communication. The figure number one shows the more people number of people in India that are reporting severe heat waves than the people in southern India. See, in this map, it is made by Yale It is made by the Yale, and they go personally to the individual population, to the individual men and women, and know about their experience. That are they having any experience of heat waves, or are they experience any severe heat waves or severe cyclone, and they make up a report in which they says that majority of India have experienced severe heat waves, about 71% of the total population, and about 59% of the population seeing the agricultural pest and diseases incidents even more in the past year. And the electricity power outrage, water pollution up to 53%, drought and water shortage for 52% of the population seeing the drought and water shortage. 51 population of the India have been currently going to struggle with the air pollution or severe air pollution in the past 12 months. More than one third of the Indians have experienced severe storm, 41%, famine and food storage at 38%, severe cyclone 35%, and severe flooding 34%. This map in general shows the amount of population which have experienced these natural disaster in the past 12 months in comparison to the other population which are still living in the which are living in the India. Next, our slide also prepared by the Yale communication, the climate change communication. In this slide, the truth between the two slides have been there. The personally experienced severe storm in the past 12 months, that is 41% of the national population, experienced the severe storm like the cyclone, like the flooding, like the drought, or hurricane, or Loo, or windfall, or like that. And the 34% of the total national population have been experienced the floods in the past 12 months. Now, we will go to the recent cases of climate change impacted on agriculture. See, I have prepared these five different state cases to compare with it. In the first one, we see the Himachal Pradesh. The apple is the primary crop in Himachal Pradesh, and due to lack of chilling hours or lack of winter chilling hours, have been seen is there. The farmers are forced to migrate to higher altitude. It is seen in Solan district, in Mandi districts, or in Kinnaur district, that they are forced to migrate to the higher altitude. We are also seeing that the farmers bringing ice from the higher altitude and keeping it to the roots of the apple plant to give them chilling hour or to give them proper irrigation, because they have seen a very less amount of rainfall this year. The next state I pick up is Punjab, because of their heat waves that has been seen in the February and March. Their primary crop is wheat, and in wheat during the gain formation stage, if the heat waves rises, because in March condition, in March days, the gain formation has been going on, and if the heat waves arises during the gain formation, they shriveled grains. The grains will be in shorter length, and that will contribute to the lower price of the grain. Next state is Assam. Their primary crop is tea. Extreme heat and floods has lower the yield of the tea. It also causes the loss of flavor and quality due to extreme heat. The nicotine of the tea leaves losses their flavor and quality, which are essential for high quality produce of tea for the commodity purpose and for the business purpose. The next state is Maharashtra, where we see the crops of soybeans and cotton are grown, and erratic rainfall or erratic monsoon are the major climatic trigger which have impact on the farmer, like sowing failure and crop rot. Erratic monsoon can be described in two ways in this term, like if the dry spell is very high, very low, very large, like sowing at the sowing time there is no rainfall, then the sowing will be failure. And at the time of sowing or after the sowing, if there high intensity rainfall, the crop will be rot, the root will be rot, and it ultimately hinder the production of the crop. Then the last one is paddy or rice in Odisha. The saltwater intrusion, saltwater accumulation in the soil, or the seawater that has been coming to the land, that is also trigger the impact on climate change of agriculture, and it losses of fertile land due to salinity. The I have recently seen some cases of clams farming, the sheep farming, in which the people or the government have restricted a bridge between the sea and the river, and due to that, a salinity of that sea, that river have been declining very much, and the clam are not able to reproduce, and the population of clam have been reducing, and this will ultimately impact the Tamil Nadu's farmers because the majority of the farmers are depend on the seafoods and seafood commodity for their livelihood. Next, now we talk about the solution that can we can make to make our agriculture more climate resilient or more adapted to the climate. The first one is the climate smart agriculture practices. Like farmers in Andhra Pradesh, Surakulam district have adopted zero tillage, where the soil is not distributed by plowing or other tillage practices before planting, reducing labor and water use while increasing profit. Zero tillage in zero tillage, the primary and secondary tillage are completely avoided or packed. There will be no primary and secondary tillage that will not disturb the soil and which will decrease the erosion or soil erosion, and it also reduce the labor requirement. The next is crop diversification and millet cultivation. As we know that the major crop rotation of India is rice and wheat, and due to this major crop rotation of India, the associated weeds, the associated disease and insect and pests are continuously haunting the farmer and reducing the yield. Now we can encourage farmer to grow climate resilient grains like ragi, kutki, which can help address the nutritional gap and ecological degradation. Millets are water efficient; they require very less water. They require very less maintenance. They have high in micronutrient, and they are well suited to the rainfed regions. And yet they continue to receive limited procurement and market support under existing policy because the harvesting of the millets is tough. That's why the farmers are completely avoiding these crops. But as an agronomist, I suggest that you should go for the millets due to this temperature and this time of the year. We know that the water is very short, and millet require very less water, and they are very high efficient water to utilize the very less amount of the water. And the next point is organic and regenerative agriculture. Techniques such as natural composting, agroforestry, crop rotation, it will improve the soil health, carbon sequestration, and reduce the input cost. We know that we need to do the natural composting. We have to get rid of the kitchen and kitchen waste. We should make it compost. We should make agroforestry also. In Kerala and Madhya Pradesh, pilots have demonstrated the benefit of the phased adoption over the abrupt transition. Next is community driven adaptation. Non-profit such as Pradhan, Professional Assistant for Development Action Pradhan, and SSP, Swam Siksham Paryog, have shown how organizing women into self-help group and linking them to the local governance can be transformative. These collectives are receiving traditional knowledge, diversifying crop grows, and assessing entitlement to secure nutrition and income in drought-prone area, Matwar and forest area of Bengal. Next, these are the steps that have been taken by the government so far to combat the climate change, like a national mission for sustainable agriculture, in which we encourage farmers to go for the sustainability so that we can make crop production more climate resilient. It also develop capacity of farmer and stakeholder in the domain of climate change adaptation and mitigation measures. Next is a soil health card scheme. It is started in 2015, which will carry crop-wise recommendation of nutrient and fertilizer required for the individual farmer, which will improve the productivity through judicious use of inputs. By via help of soil health card, we can know how our soil, which nutrients is or which micronutrient is deficient in our soil, and we can apply those nutrients to the soil for increasing our productivity. We can also use our fertilizer in very judicious way. We will not waste any kind of fertilizer into the soil which will harm to the groundwater or the nearby water sources. Next is climate change knowledge network in agriculture in Indian agriculture to establish the ICTs enable approaches for knowledge exchange on climate change adaptation in Indian agriculture. The next is ERIC project was initiated in Northeast. to disseminate climate change agriculture practices. And last is the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, in which the government is saving farmers from the warmth of frequently changing climate patterns, in which you can get a Fasal Bima of their crop if their natural occurrence, if it is used by natural occurrence like the hail or storm, you can get the insurance of your crop. These are the some famous quotes on climate change given by some famous authorities of the world, like the Mark Ruffalo. He is the UN Environmental Program advocate. He says that climate change is the greatest threat to our existence in our short history on this planet. Nobody is going to win unless we win the battle to stop the climate change. Next is Ku Duang, is the Director General of FAO. He says that agriculture sector is at front line of climate change. We must transform our food system to be more resilient and productive and sustainable. And the next is Bill Gates is also so the world hungry people cannot wait for us to stop climate change. They need us to help them to adopt it right now. These are the major upcoming climate change meeting that will be held in 2026, like the ICCC, the International Conference on Climate Change. It will be going to held on in Dehradun, India, in 2026. It aimed at sharing research result on all aspects of climate change. Next is Born Climate Change Conference SB64. It also occur is also going to occur on June 2026, and it is a mid-year session for technical negotiation and implementation planning before the main year COP Conference of Parties. And the next is the Innovative Four Cities Conference that we're going to held in Kenya, and it will bring together government and industry to boost city level climate actions. And the last is the UN 31. It is going on November in Turkey, Australia. It is the most important. It is the most important climate conference that has been occurring in the world, and it will occur in Turkey. The leading negotiation, it will build on roadmaps of previous year to transform the agriculture for the climate change. Next is the future outlook. The future of agriculture will depend on how effectively we address climate change today. Transition to renewable energy, promoting sustainable land management, and investing in agriculture innovation are essential steps. Through global cooperation and local action, it is possible to reduce climate risk and build resilient food system. In the case of future outlook, we have to go for the resilient agriculture, sustainable agriculture, or the renewable agriculture policies to make our climate look fine or look blue the sky. Like in the case of China, when the China in Beijing, the pollution has been go so far that they cannot see the sky. They completely shut the whole country for 15 days continuously to just to see the sky blue again. So that's where we have to go also. We have to learn from the other countries what kind of renewable energies they are using, what are the sustainable policy they are using, and we can also implement our own ideas to for the future of the agriculture. Next is the conclusion. In conclusion, I can say that climate change is one of the greatest challenges facing global agriculture and global and food security. Rising temperature, irregular rainfall, and increasing climate extremes are already affecting crop productivity and farmers' livelihood. However, these channels also provide an opportunity to transform agriculture into more sustainable and resilient system. By adopting climate smart agriculture practices, modern technologies, and strong policy support, we can reduce vulnerability and ensure food security for future generations. Addressing climate change requires the collaborative effect of government, scientists, farmers, society as a whole to reduce the impact of climate change on the agriculture. Thank you very much. I hope you understand the lecture that I will provide you. I hope it will provide useful insight into the relationship between the climate change and agriculture, and the strategies need to build the more sustainable agriculture future. A very thank you.